What's going on, YouTube? Got another video for you here today. It's been a while. I've been working a lot and playing some other games, playing Counter-Strike, stuff like that, but the new league is upon us. We have a new Ascendancy with the Warden, which looks like it's going to be a blast. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a Flicker Strike Warden. Let me go ahead and preface by saying this is not a step-by-step guide to help you league start. This is what I'm going to start. And the way I like to do things is I like to figure out if the numbers are viable for league start with very, very minimal gear. And then I build off it as I go. I like to make those decisions as I'm dropping things. I personally don't like to plan it out with a starter build and then a medium build and then an end game build and then an ultra end game build. And, some people like to do that. I typically like to make kind of that medium to end game build in Path of Building. And then I create it as I go and make decisions as I'm going. So this is the build. So again, and let me just say, there are a lot of other creators. If you need something that is going to take you from start to finish, Fubgun has a couple guides out where he shows, kind of how to level, and he's got a couple different Warden setups. You go to someone like Rutu or Ziz or one of those guys, like they're going to have some guides for you that will help you from start to finish. This is kind of more of an idea, maybe give you an idea, or help each other out. If you have some things that you're doing a similar melee elemental Warden, maybe you have some ideas or some tech or something that you could share with me, and so on and so forth. But I just want to preface by saying this is not a end all be all, you need to play this. It's not one of those guides. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so I want to share it with you guys, but that's the scenario. So by all means, don't think this is gonna help guide you through. You're gonna need some knowledge of the game if you're going to kind of follow this guide, quote unquote. So again, with very minimal gear, day 1, day 2 gear, we're sitting at about 5 mil DPS, and then that goes up exponentially when we use our Avatar of the Winds, which will be up every 10 seconds or so. Real quick, as far as Ascendancy goes, we're going to take Oath of the Spring, then we'll probably go to Oath of the Winter, then we will take Avatar of the Wilds, and then probably last Oath of Summer. Reason being is if I'm having some survivability issues, I will probably wait on Oath of the Summer, just because if I'm having survivability issues, Oath of the Winter is going to be very, very good for that, so we don't want to lose that, and we definitely don't want to lose Oath of the Spring. And what we'll do is lose Oath of the Summer and just go ahead and grab Mother's Teachings for Barkskin if necessary. I don't think it's going to be. We have a lot of evasion and spell suppression, stuff like that, so should be all good. Let me also just say this is a softcore character. This is not a hardcore character. If you're going to do that, you're going to want to devote a lot more points and whatnot into survivability. But once we have max endurance and have everything that we're looking for, I think this should feel pretty good. As far as tree goes, I'm just going to take you through real quick, kind of the pathing I'm going to take. We're going to come through, probably, to be honest, start with the attack speed, and then once we, get a little further in here, we'll get our points back and spec them into the deck so that we can save, 2 points here, 3 points here, whatever it is, through the attack speed once we have some on our weapon and things like that. Stay away from this for now. We'll grab the all the mana ones as we need them, but we will take both of these. The Ellie Pen and Life Evasion will come up, grab Life and Leech. Stay away from these for now. Maybe we'll grab the Frenzies, but depending on how our Frenzy Charge generation is this early, we'll probably come back and grab these, same as the Mark Mastery. We'll start coming down. Spell Suppression, Life, Accuracy, we'll grab these as we need them. The Crit will probably be one of the last things that we get, because we need Crit Chance before we get Crit Multi, and there's not a ton of Crit Chance here. You have a little bit of mana. This has mana on hit, stuff like that. This will probably be sufficient until we actually need Mana Reservation. We take our Fatal Blade for Crit Chance. Spell Suppress, Life, and Ailment Avoidance. We'll probably, again, unless we need Mana Reservation, we'll probably grab this little arm here later. This is also our Ailment Avoidance. We get 30% here and then 20% from the Life node, and we just need 50, which I'll show you how we get that later. We're going to come across, grab our Frenzy stuff. We have 3% increased damage per endurance, frenzy, and power, so we want as many charges as possible. And then we come over and we're going to grab Tribal Fury. This is a really nice node for clear. And then we just have some crit and stuff like that, and then chance to gain frenzy on our sword mastery. So pretty nice tree. And then again, we will grab things as we need them. We probably won't need the max frenzies right off the rip, but we'll start grabbing those probably somewhere towards the end of the axe. as we have a little bit of frenzy generation from our mastery here, and then we'll grab our mark mastery and all that, and that'll help us with a little bit of generation. Now going to the skills, Flicker Strike, we're going to use Flicker, Multi-Strike, Close Combat, Elemental Damage with Attack. So I feel like these 4 are the necessary ones. These last 2 are somewhat interchangeable. I think if your mana is good, you could use Trinity instead of Inspiration. But, you know, the damage plus the mana cost and all that, Inspiration will be nice, especially early on. Then Ice Bite, when we have our Frenzy generations, this will be good. Otherwise, you know, you can just use either added Cold or added Lightning. For a little bit of flat, that'll be fine, or even Trinity and Inspiration, that's also an acceptable. So these last 2 you could kind of manipulate a little bit, but this is kind of what I think is going to be best for damage, quality of life, mana, all that kind of stuff. This is the combo I've come up with. Auras, Grace, Precision, Herald of Ice. This is just a level 3 Enlightened, but sometimes it's not obtainable day 1, day 2. So once we get our Enlighten is when we add our Herald of Ice. We will absolutely use Grace and Precision right off the bat. Herald of Ice will come when an Enlighten comes. In our gloves, Mark on Hit with Poacher's Mark, Frenzy Generation, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, maybe we go to Assassin's Mark for the crit. If we have good Frenzy Generation later, maybe we go Assassins. Just, you know, it's a nice one for crit multi, bossing, all that. I think our bossing damage is going to be just fine, though, to be honest. And then in our boots, we have Life Tap, Faster Attacks, Blood Rage, Leap Slam. Leap Slam, again, because, you know, a Deadeye or a Pathfinder, you're going to get more, you know, movement speed and things like that out of your Flasks for Pathfinder or Tailwind, Deadeye, etc. We don't have any movement speed coming from our Ascendancy, so we want to make sure we have a movement ability that we can kind of spam, does not have a cooldown. We have it on Life Tap, so it's not going to take our mana, all that kind of stuff, and then Faster Attack so that we can just power through. And obviously, Blood Rage, you know, you get all that attack speed, Frenzy Charge on kill, all that, so this will help with that. In our weapon, we have Enduring Cry, Auto Exertion, and Life Tap. So Enduring Cry, we're only using 1 Cry, so Auto Exertion, even though they share a cooldown, it'll just automatically trigger once the cooldown is done. So that's you know, maximum uptime, and then Life Tap so that it always goes up, and just in case we're low on mana or whatever, we still want that to hit. Lastly, Vitality and Arrogance in our shield. Maybe this will be a Clarity as well. We'll see what happens, or a Banner. We'll see how that goes. This may or may not be necessary. I just by default typically like to use Vitality when I use Blood Rage, just because you take all that max life per second as Fizz, and we don't have a ton of Fizz mitigation, so Vitality kind of helps counterbalance the loss of life. And then obviously Unbound Avatar, that just comes from our Ascendancy. Items, super basic. These are all like T3, very achievable items on day 1, day 2. You know, this is just a, you know, flat elemental with attack speed and crit strike chance. Like Kosadei, this is nice really early just because your hits can't be evaded. Once you have max accuracy and 100% chance to hit, you can lose like Kosadei and move to a rare shield with, you know, life and whatever chance to avoid ailments or whatever it is that you need. But this is really nice early until you have that 100% chance to hit and all that accuracy. Helmet, again, we do want evasion on all of our bases because we take the evasion mastery for 15% chance of spell damage with equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have evasion. So we want to make sure that we have evasion. They can be hybrid. They don't have to be pure evasion. You could have, which we may end up doing, going hybrid evasion armor. We'll see how that feels. Especially just because we have a decent amount of reds in our 6-link setup, so for our body armor, so it might be nice to have the hybrid there just so that we can, it's much easier to color our sockets. But again, nothing crazy on the rolls for the helmet, life and resistances. Body armor, we do have suppress on this. It is a decent roll of suppress, so we need that. We do have suppression on our gloves and our body armor, so you know, that is one thing that you know, we'll have to track down. And I don't think it'll be crazy because, you know, on this particular item, the life rolls and all that are not anything crazy. You know, that's like a T3 life roll. So, you know, that you should be able to get one for really cheap. Gauntlets, and again, I don't have any Eldritch implicits because, again, this early in the league, I typically am not going to be spending my money on Eldritch currency. I'm going to be spending it on jewels or rings or whatever the case is, some of my uniques that I want. And, you know, chances are I will have earned a few by that point, but the chance of me hitting the most desirable implicits is pretty low, so I just leave them off just for the sake of not trying to get too crazy with my ideas and making sure that this is an obtainable number early. So as far as our boots, we're using Dark Ray. These are usually pretty cheap and easy to get early, and this is just +1 frenzy and then 5% increased movement speed per frenzy. Once our tree is filled, and with these boots, again, we have no +1 frenzies on any gear or anything like that. I think we're up to 9, so that's 45% movement speed, which is pretty nice. And then you also get, increased evasion per frenzy and, and all those sorts of things. So these will be pretty nice. Later on down the road, if, we get some implicits on, synthesized items or corrupted or whatever, we may end up going with, we may end up just changing to rare boots and using like Tailwind Elusive boots or something like that. So we'll see how it goes, but early we'll use these for quite a while. Amulet, nothing crazy here. A little bit of flat elemental, some crit multi, some life, and some chaos res. Again, very low rolled. So, you're looking at life and you're like 3,500. That's nothing. Well, again, there's very little life on all of these items. They're all very low rolled. So, ideally, I think if we can get this to 42 to 45 plus get our endurance charges up and get our evasion up and all that. I think, we have max spell suppression. So with all those things, I think we'll be okay, but we are going to want to try to get that life over 4K. Again, softcore character, I don't care about dying. I just don't want to die so much that it's a problem or I'm burning all my portals on maps or whatever. Dying does not really bother me too much. Our rings, these might be a little difficult to obtain. We're just going to have to see. I think they're going to be very, very powerful for Warden, and they're probably going to be one of the go-tos for Warden, at least one of them on every build, simply because of that bottom line of 20% increased damage with hits and ailments per freeze, shock, and ignite on enemy. You can have 50 shocks on an enemy at the max, so it's a big damage boost, and you stack them both, it gets pretty wild. Until we get, we may use a death rush so that we can get adrenaline. Up until that point, if they are expensive or hard to get or whatever the case is, because we don't have a source of adrenaline, which would be nice to have. So that is also an option, having death rush in place of a prismatic, or if these are really expensive, just using one of those and a rare ring is what we'll do. Belt, Stygian Vice, nothing crazy. Low rolled life, low rolled resistances, low rolled increased elemental damage with attack skills, so a very obtainable item. And then we have these, they're all the same, mainly for the life, so that we could see, okay, we obviously need to get life out of our jewels, and then these just all have flat fire on them. So nothing crazy here. These can be whatever damages or phasing on kill, or, it could be any number of things, but life was the important thing for me to make sure that, it would, again, we're looking at 35, but I think with better gear, hitting 4K plus will be pretty simple. Flasks, nothing crazy. Life flask standard, instant recovery with bleed immunity. We have for our prefix, chance to gain flask charge when you deal a crit on all of them, because you don't want to use when you get hit or anything like that, because ideally we're not getting hit with evasion, we're getting hit as little as possible. And then just the basic things: attack speed, evasion, and poison immunity. And then this one has that damage leeches life, but that could be anything. That could be more movement speed or attack speed or whatever the case is, whatever you're interested in. These are pretty generic. This right here, this is our big item that we're going to be saving for. I think within the first 2 or 3 days last league, Ancestral Vision was 4 to 5 divines. So this will be our first big save, probably our most difficult item to obtain. Again, I'm basing the taming off how obtainable they've been in the past, but I also think that this league they're going to be far more desirable than they have been in the past. So this is a bit of a question mark. We know what these cost. They've costed about that much for the last few leagues in a row. So that's our big ticket item, along with obviously an Enlighten. But this is going to be more for survivability. The Enlighten will be when we get Enlighten in, it will add some damage. So that's where we're at with that. As far as the some of the numbers here, we're looking at 4 power, 9 frenzy, 3 endurance. We've got our inspiration, life tap, flasks are active. So again, we have no adrenaline. If we can get adrenaline and we have no onslaught, getting those in will be a big deal. What I may end up doing is losing the sulfur flask for the onslaught flask. There's a high likelihood that I do that, but we'll see what happens. Let's see, are you unbound? So if we're unbound against bosses, right, which you have every 10 seconds, our damage goes from 4.9 million DPS to 8.6. So it almost doubles absolutely insane. You have access to this every 10 seconds. With that being said, per our our melee distance, max is 15. Your flicker, so again, unless it's splash or whatever, it's not going to be past 15. You're going to be right up on things for the most part. We have Scorched. I've not added any effect of Scorch or anything like that. Chill, none of it. Excuse me. We have 2% max effect, or we have 2% effective shock because 2% is the max. You need to hit for 5% for it to hit 2%, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind. You do need a decent lightning hit to get your max 2%. But again, we're not even maxed here. You can have up to 50 stacks. We're only at 30. So if we go up to 30 here, or go up to 50, our damage goes from 4.9 million to 8.9, and then when we're unbound, it goes up to 15.5. So as you can see, I kept these numbers pretty low so that we can have reasonable, achievable numbers early. And 5 mil, I'm happy with 5 mil DPS. And that's that. And then as far as some other things, once you have 100% spell suppression and ancestral vision, you have 100% chance to avoid all ailments, which is really, really nice. You don't have to use purity of elements or anything like that. We do have some flat physical in there because we're not converting or anything like that. So the flat physical that's coming from the base and things like that are going to show up. So we will not be able to run any reflect maps, at least until we sort that out. Whether we convert this or whatever the case is, we'll have to see how that goes. But that's that, guys. Like, nothing crazy here. Again, we kind of went through this, and we went through the tree. And I'm excited. I think this is going to be fun. I know I said it at the start, but just remember, this is not a start to finish, hold your hand build guide. This is what I'm going to run. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be cool. I think if you're going to follow this POB, you need some understanding of the game, and you need to be able to make important decisions on your own based on your items, or whether you need to take a damage node or a life node right now. You're level 70 and you're like, oh, damage feels great, but I'm getting one shot. Then chances are the next few nodes you should invest into a survivability node as a damage, little things like that. Otherwise, the data's here. I'll put the POB in the description. And then kind of lastly, if it turns out I'm not having fun, or it's not hitting the way I wanted to, or whatever the case is, what we'll probably do is we will switch this over to a Warden elemental hit of the spectrum. Again, I'm typically a bow player. I've done a number of melee builds in the past, and they've all been very powerful and been able to do all the content. But bows are my favorite. So we will make a bow build this league. Ideally, we don't convert this. We just make a second character that is bow based. I know Magic Find, you guys, a lot of you know me as a Magic Finder. We'll see how that goes this league. I don't know how viable. I know, Quant's gone. It's all rarity. We'll just have to see. And we'll go from there. So that's that, guys. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, let me know. If you have any tips, any ideas, or tech or anything like that that'll help me out here, please let me know in the comments below. It's super helpful. I appreciate you guys always watching, liking, subscribing. You guys are amazing. Yeah, I'll be live on Friday. If you decided to look into this, or maybe you're doing something else but you're curious, come pop in. You can kind of see the leveling process. I'll be live when the league goes live, probably a little bit before. That's that. And then we'll be streaming probably for the next 5 days straight after league starts. So, come check it out. Maybe this is, second or third or fourth on the list or whatever. There's some level of interest and you just kind of want to see how it goes. I'll be documenting all of that live. So again, appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.